welcome to tonight's episode of the Goldmine Show. We are extremely excited just to bring this to you. And when we say that we'll go the full length to bring it to you, we meant exactly that. Today we come to you right from GMC Park, the place where you dive and you dine. It is right in Kitengela, right in Kajiado County. And we'll be talking to a man, and our guest is an amazing one. A man that once worked for the UNICEF of this world, but as you know, life happens to us all. And at some point, life indeed took his toll. And at some point, he went all the way down to hanging out at Uhuru Park, but today he's not the same man. Things have happened and he's turned it all around. Have you gone through a down moment? Has life happened to you, man? Then you need to listen to this conversation and get to know how did our guest turn it all around. And today he's a proprietor of the very place we stand, Mr. George Wachiuri, the CEO and the managing director of Optiven Group Limited, among others, man. You want to definitely listen to this conversation, and therefore, my friend, tell a friend to tell a friend, and come on down. Let's do this. George, I want to just go back to your journey. I mean, today we're sitting at such a beautiful place, but there is a journey before here. And it must have begun somewhere. And I read somewhere about some time back, man, you had amazing international jobs, and that season of the life came to an end, probably by evolution, and you'll tell us about that, and then ushered a different journey, and today we're in a different place. I want us to go back to where this journey all began. We know you to be a great entrepreneur, we know Optivens, and we know all of this, but where did all this journey begin?
Well, thank you, Dennis. I think my journey is a moving miracle,
right?
Because of course, I was born in Kieni,
right?
Very dry place.
In Nyeri County.
Nyeri County,
right?
And I lost my father in 1978.
Right.
We are all young people,
right?
And we were many of us. My
right.
mother was not working,
right?
And we were brought up by a lot of challenges,
right.
whereby, you know, getting food to eat. We used to go to people's shambas
right.
to till the land.
Right.
To get money,
right?
And it was not easy. Going to school, you have to go to our own shamba to till before 6. By 6,
before 6 in the morning.
Before 6, you are up.
Right.
We were tilling our land.
Right.
After school,
right.
by 5, you go to other people's lands,
right.
and till to get money to eat. And life was not easy.
Right.
You know, we were brought up, I would say, under poverty.
Right.
And when you see George today, it's God's miracle.
So effectively, your mom had to raise you as a single mom at the time.
Exactly,
right.
yes. Because my father died, all of us were young.
Right.
And we were raised up by a single mother.
Right.
And this lady was not working.
Right.
I honor her. She's now late. We, you know, 1 year ago since she went rested in the Lord.
Yes.
And at the age of 80, we
right.
thank God. And she brought us, all of us, the 8 of us.
Right.
And we thank God for her. So.
Right.
Of course, going to school was not easy. Even getting that fees was not easy.
Right.
University was worse because
right.
I had to wash people's clothes to raise fees. I had to shave people. I was a barber in the university.
At the university?
In the university. You know, it was not an easy life. In my own cubicle, it was a library, a social library.
Right.
Getting people's magazine to read.
Right.
For me to raise money to pay fees. So
in other words, George, you're saying even in university, you've washed other people's clothes?
Yes. That was
as a business?
That was my business.
To raise school fees?
Fees, yes, exactly, yes. It was not easy. It was tough.
Right.
And I had to do it.
Right.
And remember, you're also reading so that you also pass to get a job.
Absolutely.
And it was not easy. But
right.
by the God's grace,
right.
we are here now. And I remember when I was finishing the university, there was a saying that no jobs in Kenya.
Right.
And personally, as George Wachiuri,
yep.
coming from Kieni, a place that is very dry,
right.
I panicked.
Right.
And I remember getting my 4 friends and we said, why can't we do bride applications? I remember us doing 300 job applications. Can you imagine? In a span of 3 months.
Wow.
And those days were no emails.
Right.
So we had to really deliver.
So it is a hard copy.
Hard copies.
Letters.
Yeah, you see, dear so-and-so, you know, Uchumi Supermarket, you know, you apply.
Right.
And we divided the city into 4. Me,
right.
I was given Babadogo to drop those letters. When
so you are dropping for your friends as well?
Exactly. You have 4 letters.
So whichever the direction you're given, you carry yours plus your
exactly,
friends as well?
just go drop.
Right.
And by God's grace, that's how I got my 3 interviews. And then
right.
I got a job in the Uchumi Supermarket
right.
as an accountant.
Right.
I worked there for about 1.5 years.
In Uchumi?
In Uchumi.
Right.
And that's how I started working.
Right.
Yes.
And so you're an accountant by profession?
Yes.
All right. Now, the other day I hosted a friend of mine called Carol Mandy of True Love. And she was talking about some people are either running away from poverty or chasing after riches. I don't know which your journey is likely going to be.
Me, I think I was running away from poverty
Yes.
because I know how poverty tastes.
Right.
I know how poverty looks like.
Right.
I can see the face of poverty. And that's why as a person,
First hand.
I don't like it. And whatever I do, we run a foundation.
Right.
This foundation is to fight poverty.
You want to be as far away from it.
Across 47 counties.
Correct.
And wherever I can be able to support somebody
Right.
to rise up from poverty,
Right.
I am ready
Yes.
to do it
Right.
24/7.
Right.
Because poverty is not good.
Right.
Either in our villages, in our counties, in our country.
Right.
We need to fight it.
Right.
We need to pray about it.
Yes.
We need to empower our people.
Correct.
Because poverty has no shame.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So then you got a job at Uchumi and you started therefore as an accountant. What was your professional journey? And I want to just get a feel of your professional journey before now we then get to the entrepreneur that you've become.
When I got this job as an accountant,
Yes.
I was updating ledgers.
Right.
And of course, me, I'm a social person.
Right.
I remember that time Ushumi was under the leadership of a no-nonsense MD. He was called Shah.
Yep.
And one time I was caught speaking, telling people stories in the office.
Right.
And he said, young man, I thought the work of an accounting is to concentrate and do your work.
And here you're making noise around.
I was fired.
Oh, you were fired.
I was fired.
Giving stories in the office got you fired.
I was fired, man.
So you have experience in being fired.
Exactly.
Right.
No one and nothing.
Right.
I am disturbing
Just
people.
for telling stories.
And that's the time I discovered, I
Yes.
think, George, you are not a good accountant.
Right.
I think you are good in marketing.
Right.
And that's why in the university, I
Right.
did the BCom marketing.
Right.
And I love marketing. I eat marketing.
Right.
I can teach marketing.
It is
I
just
can,
you.
I can walk marketing.
Right.
I love marketing.
Right.
And of course, after that, I was a bit worried.
Right.
But by God's grace, I got another job assignment.
Right.
In a Kakuma refugee camp.
Right.
I
All the
was
way in northern Kenya.
in northern Kenya.
Right.
In Turkana.
Right.
I was there for 4 years.
Right.
And I was distributing food to 80,000 refugees.
Right.
To ensure that they are able to eat and drink.
Right.
And of course, after those 4 years, I went to International Organization of Migration. We were helping the Somali Bantus to move from Somalia
Right.
all the way to the US and also Canada.
Right.
So we have done a lot of transfer
Right.
through International Organization of Migration.
Correct.
After that, I joined the UNICEF.
Right.
Very nice job.
Right.
And I worked in Southern Sudan.
Right.
And we did a lot of relief work in South Sudan.
Right.
And after that, I joined World Vision Somalia. I
Right.
worked in Bwale. I worked in Wajid.
Right.
And working in Somalia was another story.
Right.
I need to do a book about working in
about this
Somalia.
one.
I
Yes.
remember one time I was praying. Hey, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
I was warned.
Right.
Here
Don't
you
even
don't
try.
You don't pray. You
Right.
don't carry the Bible.
Right.
At one point we were attacked, and I was sleeping under the bed, and the
Right.
bullets were running in the camp.
Wow.
I said, George, if you did not die in Somalia, you are going to live 100 years.
Right.
And I believe I'm going to live 100 years.
Right.
My goodness, let me tell you, Dennis.
Yes.
I think that was the most scaring, time for me.
It must have been a very horrifying experience.
horrifying.
In a different country.
And
It's
remember,
not even in your country.
when these planes were coming,
Right.
there were threats that even when the planes land, they are these small planes,
Right.
5 people, 7 people.
Right.
They were threatening to shoot.
Right.
Of course, the other day you saw them, they shot one.
Yeah.
And by the God's grace, we survived.
You survived
I think
it.
George Wachiuri is a moving miracle.
Correct.
Yes.
I ask and I try to do the contrast of the Kenny experience.
Yes.
And the UNICEF experience. It must have been a fully answered prayer at that point in time.
Let me tell you, that's why I say I'll live under the wings of God.
Yes.
I'll live here because I know God works.
Right.
God works.
Right.
For my life.
Right.
Yes.
Now, then you decide you want to leave formal employment. Or how did you exit the UNICEF?
In 2008, I was thinking that because when I was working, I had some, nowadays people call it side hustle.
Right.
I was also doing other things through people.
Correct.
Maybe I register a company,
Right.
and then I look for a partner, or
Right.
we used to work with my brother,
Right.
and we are still doing business while working for all those organizations.
Correct.
But 2008, I now knew, George, now you are a mature guy.
Yep.
I had saved my 5 million
Right.
Kenya shillings.
Right.
And I knew this is sufficient capital to start business.
And to launch
And what
continue.
business came in my mind?
Right.
Real estate.
Right.
So I went ahead and so beautiful, wonderful, fantastic 10-acre development.
Right.
And I said, I'll pay a deposit.
Right.
Paying a deposit, I now started following to be financed.
Right.
When this financier came, discovered the property was not clean. I was young in real estate.
Right.
I did not understand what cleanness in property means.
Right.
I was told non-clean property means the title is not genuine.
Right.
To cut the long story short, the title was the fake title.
And you have already put your
5 million.
5 million in.
I ran like a headless chicken to the seller who sold us the property.
Right.
I remember, I can even now see how the office was looking like. A small office with a table.
Right.
I think I was not very wise because
Right.
how can you pay 5 million in a small office?
Right.
I should have checked.
Right.
But the fellows,
But a lot of us are naive at that point in time.
Yes,
I mean, you're not
I
even
was
exposed to
naive.
correct.
the 3 fellows switched off the phone.
Right. They are nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be found. I remember
The office is shut.
Every day I was going to that office to
Right,
knock,
right.
to peep whether
Yes.
I can see the guys.
Right.
They were not there.
And your 5 million is gone.
Dennis, I think I went to that office about 30 times in a period of 2 months.
Chasing your 5 million.
And let me tell you, Dennis, Kenya is big. I have never seen those people
To date.
to date.
They disappeared.
The money
This
went.
is 2008.
Yes, the money went.
Right.
I had no other money.
Right.
I now started looking for a job.
Right.
Remember, you have done CPAK.
Right.
You have done BCom.
BCom in marketing.
I had
yes.
done my MBA.
Right.
For 1 year, I was sending applications. Nobody even responded.
Right.
That, George, we have seen your application. We regret you have no job. I think the heavens had shut.
Not even an acknowledgement.
I tell you.
Nothing coming through.
Goja tabu ingie.
Right.
No money for the children.
Right.
No money even for my own fare to go to the city.
Right. At this time, you're a family person.
Yes.
Right.
I have 2 children.
Right.
I literally had a small office at Gilfiland. I closed it.
Right.
And my office was now Uhuru Park. I was going there with my Bible, a notebook, and a pen.
Maybe before we go to Uhuru Park, at
Yes.
Gilfilands in your office, what exactly was the office about? What service were you offering there?
The office, I was doing a agency. You know, people call them brokers.
Right. For
I was
real
doing,
estate?
real estate.
Okay.
And it was a sublease.
Right.
You know, and I remember even when I was operating that particular office, when I lost the money,
Right.
at one point I had no money even to pay for county license. I remember it was 5,000.
Right.
And one time this county guy came, and they found me there.
Right.
I tried to be a bit wiser. I
Right.
was hiding under the table.
Right.
I did not know that.
Because
I
you
was-
have not even paid for
I
the
have
for
not
the
paid.
license. Yes.
I did not know that I was taller.
Right.
They saw the shoe. They saw the shoe protruding.
When they couldn't see you from above, they saw you from beneath.
Beneath. My friend.
So this 5 million that you lost was basically your capital for real estate business.
Exactly.
That's what you hope to do.
And I lost everything. I lost everything.
And this is your savings for the many years
For
you
10
have been
To be
working.
specific, 10 years.
For 10 years.
The money went.
So you now wake up one morning and realize my savings for 10 years is gone.
Yes.
My capital for the business I want to do is gone.
Yes.
The office is not even paid for in terms of licenses.
Yes.
And I still have a family to take care
I
of
tell you.
and a future ahead.
Let me tell you, Dennis.
And you know why I enumerate those things is because Georgia will tell you this. Even now, there are still many people going through those kind of scenarios.
Yes.
And I think it is important for them to know that while we celebrate George in the way we celebrate him, he has gone through this kind of experiences. So how then did you take it from there?
Let me say that I have written a book called Soul Like an Eagle. And I have told that story very well, those who want to buy that particular book.
Check for that book, Soar Like an Eagle, an amazing account of George's journey. You definitely want to get a copy. So then go ahead, sir.
And I would say that from that 1 year, I call it the 1 year of wilderness.
Right.
I learned myself, and I say that it was like a school.
Right.
That today, even if George is controlling what,
Right.
there's 3 things that I told God when I moved from my office to Uhuru Park, whereby
Right.
under a tree with my Bible, a pen and a paper. And I
Because
said,
your office moves from Gilfilands to Uhuru
Uhuru
Park.
Park, because
And
Uhuru Park
that-
is free.
No one is charging you
Nobody
rent
is
for
charging
it.
you. The air is free, and you less there with your stresses.
But you're in Uhuru Park circumstantially, not out of choice.
I tell you, and that's why I made a lot of prayers.
Right.
I told God, I think, God, you need to restore me.
Right.
I have suffered enough.
Right.
And God had those prayers. And today, even if people say George is managing what,
Right.
I know George owns nothing.
Right.
Whatever George and the other directors possess,
Right.
we are custodians of God's resources.
Right.
God has put us as a channel.
Right.
And that's why for us at Optiven we say the reason why we wake up every morning is to economically and socially empower and transform the communities.
Right.
It is to create jobs for our
Right.
people.
Right.
And that's what drives us as a people.
Right.
And it was not easy, 1 year of dryness. But the way I
This
moved
year,
on,
no one is acknowledging your letters.
no one is talking to you.
No one talks to
I
you.
lost all the friends. I had only 2 friends. My pastor,
Right.
Reverend Katutu,
Right.
and my wife. My wife never told me, George, you are useless.
Right.
So even if I go out there hungry, come back home hungry,
Wow.
my wife, whom you saw here,
Right.
she never told me, George, you are useless.
She was an amazing
She
pillar of
was there to
strength.
support me. In fact, at some point,
Right.
at some point we went somewhere whereby I was an agent. Somebody
Right.
called us and
Right.
I was selling a property.
Right.
And when he saw me and my brother,
Right.
he asked us, are you the broker? Are you the owner? What are you selling?
Right.
Then he looked at me from the shoe
All
to
the
the
way
top.
to, yes.
I was under the weather.
Right.
The lids were dry.
Right.
The shoes were dirty.
Right.
And the guy got furious. And of course, when you go to a hotel, people ask for tea.
Right.
He got so furious, he
Right.
said, everybody to pay for their tea.
Oh no.
We had nothing in the pocket. Don't ask me how I left that restaurant. It's a high-end restaurant.
Oh, no.
The man went, we were left there. That
With
story,
your bills.
That story is in my book.
Like an eagle.
Have you ever seen embarrassment?
Right.
I was embarrassed.
Must have been a low moment for you.
It
George.
was. I think it was my lowest moment.
Right.
And that's why I was telling you earlier before the show
Yeah.
that the purpose of what we do in the foundation
Right.
is based on that particular environment.
Right.
Because we know what it feels to lack.
Right.
What it feels when you have nothing in your pocket.
Right.
Yes, Dennis.
It must be a very low.
I think it was the worst.
It must have been the lowest
worst,
point.
yeah.
So in Uhuru Park, then God comes through for you.
God takes time.
He took time to answer your prayer.
God took about a year, But the reason why I was able to go through 1 year,
Right.
because of prayer.
Right.
Prayer and fasting.
Right.
And my pastor praying for me, my wife praying
And
for
your
me.
wife being a supportive wife. Yes.
And I think God had a part
Right.
because I almost lost hope.
Right.
Because you are looking for a job, nobody is responding.
Right.
You are trying this business, you have you don't know where to start.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And in case you're in that same spot, man, you want to hear the next part of this conversation, because then we need to know then, George, how did you get out of the ashes of Uhuru Park and become the man that you've become today?
Well, one time I was very hungry and frustrated.
Right.
And there was a conference in our church. I remember it was Tumaini. I said, today I must go for a conference. I went for a conference, and there was this preacher man from South Africa. He's still there, Didi Chauke.
Right.
And this man was praying for people. And the guy was praying, furiously. These Pentecostal
Right.
preachers.
Right.
And they said, somebody here is going to pay my air ticket
Right.
back to South Africa.
Right.
Don't ask me how.
Yep.
But I found myself kneeling down in front of that preacher man. I was kneeling down there. Looking around, I was alone.
Right.
This guy spoke things.
Right.
He says, you are going to be like Joshua.
Right.
You are going to be a billionaire.
Right.
You'll be lending people money.
Right.
You create jobs.
Right.
That's what God is saying.
Right.
The guy prophesied.
Right.
After the prayers, I went back to the seat.
Right.
Later on, my wife was telling me, was wondering, does the preacher man know this guy has got nothing? My own pastor was also asking, I know the
There's
situation
a
of
disconnect between what the preacher man is saying and
And
what the
the-
reality that we have here.
Yes.
Right.
But when I went home, the following day was a Sunday.
Right.
The same wordings were repeated.
Right.
And an idea came into my mind.
Right.
Said, what has God given you? You
Right.
may not have money,
Right.
but you have the brains,
Right.
you have the network.
Right.
An idea came.
Right.
Why can't you think of offering your services
Right.
to people?
Right.
And that particular point, an idea just came.
Right.
Because me had sworn, never go back to real estate.
Right.
An idea came and says, go back to real estate.
Same spot.
Same spot.
Same place. Yes.
So
You go back to where you lost at.
where I lost.
Right.
To cut the long story short, because
Yeah.
the story is covered in my book,
Right.
I was able to do an agreement with the landowner.
Right.
I told the landowner, I'm
Right.
a good marketer.
Right.
Allow me to enter
Right.
into your shamba.
Right.
Subdivide it.
Right.
And then in 3 months, I'll pay you.
Correct.
The sum of it.
Right.
Somehow the guy agreed.
Right.
The first miracle happens.
Right.
I remember it was 5 acres. We
Right.
subdivided into 40 plots.
Right.
Within 3 months, I was selling to church members and my friends. We had no plot.
You know, you make a very important point, George.
Yes.
Because then it sounds like then it all began by you reflecting also on what you have.
Yes.
Not what you do not have. And I think it's important because a lot of times we fail to do what we could do on account of what we probably may not be. And I think real wealth is what is on the inside of us.
It is true.
It's actually what is inside of us, because then you are a marketer. It was always inside of you.
Yes.
Even in the driest of times, you still were a marketer.
Sure.
And you brought then the marketing bit out of you, and you began to move. And therefore you sold the first part.
Yes.
And the first miracle happened.
That was the first miracle.
Right.
That's when the idea came. Why can't you partner with the people who have got money?
Correct.
Then leave another deposit.
Right.
I remember one guy who gave me 500,000
Right.
at an interest of 5% per month.
Right.
That is 60% per year.
Yes.
I picked the money.
Right.
I was able to pay a deposit
Right.
and bought another property.
Right.
An idea came, why can't you partner with Equity Bank?
Right.
Equity Bank, another favor came.
Right.
They were able to finance our properties.
Right.
And the miracles happened one after the other. I remember
Right.
one time we had a deal with the bank.
Right.
And they agreed that we sell our properties to the staff.
Right.
And for the first time, I saw money coming to the account
Right.
like never before.
Right.
And I will forever be grateful
Right.
for Equity Bank.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And you have continued in the journey and doing big things right now in real estate.
Even, yeah, we thank God. God, we have experienced God favor.
Right.
But I think this favor is can be associated with, number one, having that purpose.
Right.
The passion.
Correct.
And the vision.
Right.
Because if you pursue a certain vision,
Right.
somebody told me that, or I believe that wherever there's a vision, there's a provision.
Right.
And we pursue that particular vision
Right.
of economic and socially empowering and transforming the communities.
Right.
Out of that, we talk about an activity of creating 30,000 jobs by the year 2030.
Right.
And we have seen that vision growing day by day.
Right.
Even a facility like this one,
Right.
it may not be profitable today,
Right.
but you have about 100 people
Right.
working in this particular facility.
And many families being fed.
And many families
And
being
many
fed.
suppliers also being able to grow their businesses out of it.
Exactly.
I think it feels a total value chain and ecosystem.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Correct. Now, and I want to come to the questions of the principles you've learned through your journey. Because then while I may not pursue the exact journey that George has, there are certainly principles that you have applied in your life and learned through life that can actually help our viewer today just be able to pick themselves from wherever they are and be able to connect to where it is that they seek to go.
I think, Dennis, life is a gift.
Right.
And all the resources we have here, these are additionals.
Right.
These are side shows.
Right.
You know, the money is a side show.
Right.
We have the maker in heaven.
Right.
And God expects us to pray.
Right.
To worship him.
Right.
To honor him.
Right.
And that's the secret for George Wachiuri.
Right.
Trusting in God.
Right.
And once you tap from God,
Right.
the other things shall be added unto you.
Right.
And of course, number two,
Right.
as an individual, as a person, you must have a vision.
Right.
What do you want to see in 10 years' time?
Right.
20 years' time?
Right.
And that particular vision is able to catapult you
Correct.
to the next level.
Correct.
And then that's what some people call it the purpose.
Right.
Why are you here in this world?
Right.
What's your purpose?
Right.
And then you cannot progress if you don't value people.
Right.
The people factor is very important. Your connections. Personally, I believe that for you to be a person of great influence, you have to connect with the people.
Right.
You have to be competent with what you have.
Right.
And you must be a person of good character.
Correct.
So character plus competence plus connection
Right.
is equal to influence.
Correct.
And that's very important in business.
Character.
Character plus
Competence.
plus connection.
And connection.
Is equal to influence.
Right.
That one is key in business.
Right.
I also
3 C's.
Three
right
Cs.
there.
Exactly.
Is equals to influence.
Influence.
All right.
And other than the people,
Right.
it's very, very important. There's another P called perspiration.
Right.
You must be a hard worker.
Correct.
There is no resources that will find you sleeping.
There is no substitute to hard work.
You must be able to be self-disciplined.
Right.
Rise up early. Like for
Right.
me, I'm up early. By 4 a.m., I'm up early.
Right.
Plan for your day.
Right.
Call it a day.
Right.
You know, prepare to-do list
Right.
so that you are able to work smart
Correct.
and work hard.
Right.
And I can tell you, there is something that happens when we work harder,
Right.
when we work smart.
Right.
And that's how I encourage our viewers. That
Right.
You must perspire,
Right.
perspiration.
Right.
And of course, the last P
Right.
is about a passion.
Right.
Whatever you do,
Right.
even if it is a free thing,
Right.
do it with the passion. Even
Correct.
if you are sweeping, be the best sweeper. Even if you are cutting these flowers,
Right.
let the flowers be cut in a way that people ask, Dennis, who prepares these flowers?
Correct.
Just do it nicely.
Right.
And then remove the complaining spirit.
Right.
God doesn't like complainers.
Right.
The employers do not like to see people who complain.
Right.
The universe hates complainers.
Correct.
All the time.
Right.
Just be thankful.
Right.
And then have that mentality I call the abundance mentality.
Correct.
That never think about competition.
Right.
Compete with yourself.
Right.
That whatever you do, you're competing with George Wachiuri.
Right.
Forget about what your competition do.
Correct.
But you're competing with yourself.
And you know,
abundance mentality.
You know, George, I have to stop you on that point because,
Yes.
you know, sometimes we are actually trying to compete against everybody else.
No point.
And we probably forget that then it is a competition against my endowment myself.
Exactly.
And how much of my potential, my capacity, my capability
Yes.
I can actually bring out.
Yes, Dennis.
I don't know how would you help us to practically understand that this is not a race against anybody else. It's actually a race against the endowment I have within myself.
I think I agree, Dennis, because there is enough for everyone.
Correct.
There is enough for the 7 billion people in the world.
Right.
And let me tell you, there are so many resources,
Right.
golden resources,
Right.
that have never been discovered.
Right.
Dennis, look at this particular facility.
Right.
A year ago, there were thorns in this particular facility.
And look at what it is today.
Look at today.
It's a beautiful transformed
children
place.
are getting happy.
Absolutely.
People are swimming.
Yes.
You know, things are happening.
Right.
So Barack Obama said,
Right.
there is something called enough.
Right.
So don't think because Dennis have got this one,
Yeah.
I can't get it.
Right.
You can drive a Mercedes,
Right.
I can drive a Mercedes.
Right.
You can drive a Vitz, I can drive a Vitz.
Correct.
There is enough for everyone.
Right.
So that abundance mentality is very important.
Right.
Something else that has also helped me is
Yes.
that you know, God has given us the thinking capacity.
Right.
But most of us, Dennis,
Yeah.
they have totally refused to think.
Correct.
They just copy other people.
Right.
You don't need to copy people.
Right.
You only need to sit down there.
Yes.
You know, buy a thinking seat.
Right.
And you sit there and just think.
Yep.
Generate ideas.
Right.
Because those ideas are going to be the game changers for our nation.
Right.
The ideas are going to be game changers for our counties.
Correct.
And our villages.
Right.
God has also given us another talent.
Right.
You know, the talent of our emotions.
Right.
Our people are dying of depression.
Right.
Because they're not able to manage their emotions.
Right.
Yet, the way you treat other people,
Right.
the way you treat your own emotions really matters a lot on your progression.
Right.
And then finally,
Right.
it's about our own character.
Right.
People say that every leader must have a good character.
Right.
And good character, you're not born with a good character.
Right.
You can be able to practice good character.
Right.
But giftings, you are
Right.
born with gifts.
Right.
But character,
You
you
nurture
have
it.
to work on it.
Correct.
How do you work on character?
Right.
Control your thoughts.
Right.
Yeah, the way you think.
Right.
Because people who think evil,
Right.
they develop evil emotions.
Right.
People who think right, they develop right emotions.
Right.
Right emotions develops right actions.
Right.
Right actions develop right habits.
Correct.
Right habits develop right character.
Right.
Right character, it develops right destiny. And
Right.
right destiny means you leave the right legacy.
Fantastic.
And that's George Wachiuri for you.
Man, we could go on and on and on. But my final question just before we end this, George.
Yes.
You have been an entrepreneur from a long time ago. If I listen to your story, man, you did people's shambas, you've done people's clothes, you've done beauty, you've done all of these things. And sometimes I ask myself, your typical entrepreneur today in Kenya is trying to do 20 different things, but probably has not singled out and is not succeeding on any, because sometimes they find themselves so thinly spread. In just a minute, how did you settle on this? And how would you advise someone who is battling with 20 different ventures and becoming too thin and not becoming successful on any?
Well, thank you, Dennis. I think you are talking about George Wachiuri. Those are mistakes that I did, that I was doing so many businesses, I was so thin. I always tell people that if you're a startup,
Right.
start with one business, do it so well.
Right.
The time it has developed like Optiven.
Right.
Now you can hire experts, people
Right.
who are sharper than you,
Right.
to run other businesses.
Right.
I can tell you, Dennis, for sure.
Yep.
When I come to GMC, I'm a stranger.
Right.
We have Mr. Jomo here.
Right.
We have Musiri here.
Right.
These are guys who have got masters in hospitality.
Right.
So they are able to manage this facility without my input
Correct.
at all.
Correct.
In fact, Dennis,
Right.
I am irrelevant.
Right.
That means if you are listening to us there,
Right.
if you are a startup,
Right.
and you are the business,
Right.
focus on one business.
Right.
But if God blesses you and
Yes.
then you have expanded,
Right.
you have resources to hire experts.
Right.
Now you can expand like Optiven.
Right.
You can talk about EcoPeak Spa, you can talk about Panalotis in the waterfront,
Right.
you can talk about GMC, you can
Right.
talk about Optiven Real Estate,
Right.
you know, Optiven Construction.
Right.
Because at that particular point, Dennis,
Right.
you are able to tap the talent. But the mistake we do, we want to start with 10 businesses.
So you go on record then letting us know that it was a mistake to have started with very many of those.
It was a big mistake.
Today, looking in hindsight, if you are to advise, focus on one
business.
And when it grows, if you have to do something further, then put the
Diversify.
structures
Exactly.
that allow it
Exactly.
to not need you. And you have the skill and expertise
Exactly.
that can be able to run that.
Exactly, Dennis.
Right.
Have the right people,
Right.
the right processes,
Right.
the right policies,
Correct.
and the business will be propelling itself. And that's a secret of Optiven. By
Right.
the way, Dennis,
Right.
George Wachiuri is now irrelevant in Optiven.
Because you've put structures.
We have been with you today.
Right.
This is my phone.
Right.
It has not rang
Right.
because there are people who are better than George Wachiuri.
Right.
And they are handling customers for Manage,
Right.
Victory Gardens,
Right.
Garden of Joy,
Right.
Shekinah.
Right.
Because we have enabled them. They say the role of a leader, Dennis,
Right.
is to influence people.
Correct.
Is to inspire people.
Right.
The role of a leader is not doing.
Right.
Is developing people.
Right.
They say there's a difference between a leader and a manager.
Right.
A manager develops resources.
Right.
A leader develops people.
Wow.
Once you develop people, I can tell you, you can be able to go to the next level, and you can only go up. I learned from His Excellency President Kibaki.
Right.
When Kibaki was president,
Right.
and I'm not ashamed to say so,
Right.
this guy empowered the ministers.
Right.
They could do everything.
Right.
We were even complaining, Muse is not talking.
Right.
Yet Muse has empowered people.
Right.
That's the style of my leadership.
Wow.
I empower my managers, and I honor them. I call them partners.
Right.
And they're able to propel the Optiven vision, even if the time George goes to be the Abraham.
Right.
Optiven will continue.
It will even go to the next level. What an amazing way just to end today's show, man. George, you give us a lot of hope for this nation. And I'm sure a lot of people then pick a lot of lessons even from your journey. And I want to pray that then keep doing what you're doing, keep growing, keep remaining the beacon of hope that a lot of us look to and inspiration that a lot of us draw from. And thank you so much for your time on the show. Well, unfortunately, we've got to bring this to an end. I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Let us know the 2 or 3 things you picked out of today's show and what you can pick up and begin to do. I want to invite you to join us and follow us on all our social media pages at The Goldmine Show on YouTube, on Facebook, as well as on Instagram. And together, let's build a great Goldmine community that unleashes the positive energy inside of us towards becoming the greatness we all must become. Until next time, this has been The Gold Show coming to you right from GMC Place, the place where you dive and you die. God bless you and see you next time.